Welcome back, everybody, to this edition of the Magic School Bus. Apparently, Paul got on the bus with Miss Frizzle and took a little adventure yesterday.
Yeah. Yeah, yesterday was an object lesson in how to turn a 90-minute bus ride into a 5-hour travesty. But short version is, I was in New York for a meeting, and my wife came along. She had a separate meeting. And it was a snowstorm. And actually, in the scope of snowstorms, didn't seem like a big deal. We only got a couple inches of snow, really. But turned to an ice storm in the middle of it. And, then the other side drama is the bus. We've been coming, to New York on the bus for the past 18 months. We lived in Pennsylvania. The company we've been using, Bieber Bus, which has been in business since 1946, went out of business on Friday. And there's been a lot of scrambling because there's a couple of other bus companies. They have more limited routes. Some of them are going to pick up some of the routes and stuff, whatever. But it's, it happened Friday. We were traveling Monday, so we stayed over. So Tuesday was a storm, and originally the company we went with, we had options for, I think it was 1:30, 3:30, 4:30, 5:30, like that kind of thing.
Yep. And
so we were having lunch at Rattle and Hum, and Rattle says hi, by the way. And
like the actual Rattle, like the
yeah, the actual building. A slightly different menu with the other one, by the way, but they do have loaded tots and whatnot. So we saw Rich, by the way, completely random. He was in the city for a separate meeting as well. And my wife is on her phone looking at the bus stuff, and Transbridge, the company, basically canceled all their buses. No buses were allowed to go through New Jersey on Route 78, which is the only way you can get home from there for us, and unless you fly, I guess. And then they said, well, the storm's going to pass, or it'll get easier, and we're going to pick up routes later in the day. Well, as it turns out, it actually got worse, right? So because it was all icy and everything. And it was 1:52. My wife looks at her phone, and it says, we are going to run one bus today. It leaves the Port Authority at 2:00. This is the only bus.
Oh, gosh.
It's going to make every stop that all of our other routes make. So instead of having like one stop and then getting home in 90 minutes, we're going to make what was advertised as 6 stops. It was actually about 8 stops. And we stopped it. It was like, anyway, so we had a run, like someone else paid for our lunch. We just like chewed and screwed. Barely. And then of course the bus is not at the same gate or dock or whatever they call those things. No one there knows where it is. We find it. We are like the last people to get on the bus. As I told you, I said to my wife as we got on, say hi to all the people we're going to die with today. And one guy laughed, and the rest of them just looked at me like I was the Antichrist. So that didn't go over as well as I was hoping. But we just kind of went into it like, look, this is going to take a long time. Just whatever, we'll be fine. And there were no, the attitude was not poor. I mean, I was joking the whole time, but there was, aside from the sheer number of times we stopped, and how far off the highway these stops are, it's crazy. Like the one we go to is right next to the highway. We drove into Clinton, New Jersey, Easton, Pennsylvania, 3 places in Bethlehem. One of them was the bus stop. There's an airport near there. I don't remember the other one with Allentown. I don't remember them all, but we're driving down the highway, and it is crappy out. And you can see lights ahead and everything. It was really a lot of traffic, as you can imagine. And the bus kind of swerves, and what we go around is like a 2-car accident in the middle of the highway. Both cars have spun in circles and are facing the wrong direction. And everyone in the bus is kind of looking out the side to see it. It was one of 2 accidents we saw, multiple vehicles on the side of the road, as you would expect. And my wife is fast asleep. So I look over her to see out at the accident, and then a little while later she wakes up and she's like, anything new? And I'm like, yeah, you you just missed a fiery car crash. It was awesome.
The end of times.
Yeah. But we got home at 7, and we left at 2. So I mean, normally, like I said, that's a 90-minute to maybe a 2-hour bus ride, depending on stops and conditions,
Were you the last stop on the bus?
Yeah, we were, and we were the last. It was us, Stephanie. That's the other thing. Like there aren't that many people in the bus, so we would drive like 20 minutes off the highway, drop off a person, and then drive 20 minutes back. The bus got stopped at one of the. It was in Easton, actually. It was horrific, right? So the bus got trapped. I mean, it couldn't move forward, so we actually had to. People got out. We kind of backed it up, and Anyway, Stephanie and I and some other guy were the last people at the last stop. We get off, and the bus driver apologized. He said, "I'm sorry that took so long." And I was like, "Dude, thank you." I said, "Are you kidding me? You got us home safe."
Yeah.
I said, "Please." It was great. He was nice. I mean, he was great, and he was great. He was a great driver, so that was nice. But our theory was like, there's a little storm coming, and who cares?
Mm-hmm.
And what's going to happen is there are people who commute to New York and like some number of days a week on these buses, right? It's like I said, a 90-minute to 2-hour drive. There's many more people who commute from where I live to Philadelphia. Those routes are screwed by this Bieber bus closing. There is no one to date has come up with an alternative. I don't know what those people are going to do. And there was no parking and I don't. It's just a mess. And like I said, I slept 8 hours last night, which I never do. We both passed out on the couch watching TV last night, just completely whatever. But yeah, that's how not to do it. But we you would think compared to last winter, like last winter we had that horrific death storm. I grew up and lived most of my life in Massachusetts around Boston. We get horrific snowstorms. In 2015, we had 6 feet of snow on the ground. I'm used to snow, and yet in many ways, 2 of the worst experiences I've ever had have been here. We've only been here a year and a half. We had that storm. We almost died out in rural Pennsylvania in like the hillshaveeyes.com, Pennsylvania, whatever that's called. And you know what I mean? Like, yeah. And then this year I'm thinking like, we're going to die on this thing. There's going to be a point on this trip where this bus is going to rotate 45 degrees and we're going to just careen into stuff. Like this is going to happen, And I got to learn. I'm making fun of Seattle. Like Seattle gets 2 to 4 inches of snow and they're on the news, And I'm thinking like these pansies. I mean, give me a break, We got 2 inches of snow too. The place was destroyed. It still is. Like out front, like we went to bring the garbage barrels out. They delayed it a day because of the storm. The 2 of us are slip and sliding down our driveway because it's just 2 inches of ice. There's like deer tracks everywhere. I don't know. Apparently there's an infestation of these things because based on the tracks, there's like 1 million of them on my front lawn at night. And then the other thing that this is completely messed up, and you will never understand the visual of this. I'm going to try to describe it, and you're going to be like, yeah, I get it. You don't. We were in Allentown probably. Back roads too. This other thing. Why the buses go? They go down neighborhood streets, and anyway, we're kind of in an open area, so it's like fields and there's like trees in the back. And my wife goes, "Look at that!" And I look out the window, and there's nothing to see. I mean, it's just white out snow and the tree and the grass, whatever. And I'm like, well, "Look at what?" And she goes, "Look at the birds." I have never seen. The only thing I've ever seen. You ever see the footage of like a cave where the bats come out at a particular time?
Yeah.
And there are so many bats that they blacken the sky. Have you seen that kind of footage?
Mm-hmm.
That's what it was. It was birds flying in circles in the snow, in the blinding blizzard of this thing, like a scene from a horror movie. Like there were more birds than there were empty areas of sky. I have no explanation. I've never, ever in my life seen anything like that.
Well, that confirms my theory that now at least 2 species are sad that you didn't end up in a ditch. One of them is on this podcast, and the other one was flying over trying to peck at your dead body. But
yeah, they were following the bus, right? Exactly.
Like, oh, this one's done. This one's going to be in a ditch.
I had 2 experiences in Dedham where I would walk every day, and twice I looked up and I saw, you like see a hawk flying around circles. We have many more hawks here than we ever had in Dedham, but there's a hawk up there in the blue sky all by itself circling, and I'm walking him. Look up, there's a hawk, and then I'm like, I think he's circling me. I think he has observed what's available, and he said that one he's going to trip. And when he does, I'm coming down for him.
Dibs on the eyeballs.
Yeah. Come on, fatty, you got this. Just fall down.
Well,
how was your day?
Warm, plush seating surfaces.
Yes. Well,
I mean, I did
power,
have
by the way. I didn't need it, but they did have it.
I did venture out into the cold to take the dog out. I mean, that was risking
you are
life
a hero.
and limb.
Sure.
But yeah, it was pretty
uneventful.
Yeah, it's just kind of a normal day. It was actually maybe even quieter because you weren't harassing me on Twitter or Skype or whatever.
Yeah, I had bigger fish to fry yesterday for sure. I the funny thing is the trip was great. Otherwise, we had
Yeah.
decided like almost last minute to kind of go overnight, and the hotel was awesome. And we had dinner with Mary Jo. We did this thing where we walked by this thing I've always wanted to do. We're down in the village, and Mary Jo, we're walking by a thing, and she says, "We got to take a half block detour. I just want you to see this thing." And it's a tiny sushi restaurant, and by tiny I mean it's less than half the size of my office.
Hmm.
There were 3 seats. The way it works is you pay a set amount. I think it was like $58. You can only be there for 30 minutes. You can't get anything else. The guy makes you one piece of sushi at a time. You can have a drink,
Yeah.
and you pay and you leave, and that's it. That's how it works. It's in a little thing with a couple of other small restaurants that are similar, that not sushi restaurants. So we walked. She shows me this thing. I've always wanted to do this. It's like I see this in movies in Japan or in like documentaries, and I was like, "Oh, you've ruined this night for me. I mean, now I know this exists, and I need to do this." And she's like, "Well, we'll do it. You're going to come back. We'll do it on some other trip." And I'm like, "Okay," but I'm like, "I wish you had never showed me this. Now that I know this is a possibility." So we go to dinner at this oyster thing that she loves, and it was awesome. It was awesome. She knew the guy; he was great, the owner or whatever. And we, she says, and my wife, she's probably like your wife, right? Like I could eat basically an unlimited amount of food. Like I just, especially if it's something I really want, like sushi or oysters or seafood, like stuff like that. I could just sit there all night. And Mary Jo goes, if you want, we had eaten. I want to be clear, like we ate. And my wife, I was going to say like probably like your wife, she eats this very small amount of food, a normal human being, like she's healthy and everything. And then she's done. She's done. And I often will eat some of her food because she just doesn't eat everything. That's the way it goes. So she never would want to do anything else after dinner for food. But Mary Jo says, maybe if you want, we can go back to that sushi place. And I'm thinking she means like I could have the sushi and they would not, they would just, it's only 30 minutes. And I'm like, I don't want to do that to you guys. And she's like, no, I could actually eat some more. And then my wife goes, because my wife and Mary Jo, seriously, they're like the evil twins. Like it's awful when they get together. Like I always end up like with alcohol poisoning after these nights. Stephanie goes, yeah, I could do that. And I'm like, oh my God, this is incredible. And I'm like, great. So we did. And we went. It was excellent. It was awesome. I'm so glad I did this. Cannot believe my wife did this. But then, we ended up in an Irish bar, and I think you can kind of imagine the cocktail and the incredible like Irish whiskey and Scotch collection, including a Bunda they had. It was incredible.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, it was good. And it was also terrible because then I had to get up in the morning, and I thought that was going to be the worst thing to happen yesterday. But actually, anyway, yeah, it was the complete experience for sure. But it's over now, thank God.
We're happy your liver's back to hopefully being somewhat normal.
Yeah.
You're off the bus.
Well, suffice to say, I didn't drink anything last night. That's for sure. We were just like laying on the couch in a near coma, or an actual coma at one point.
Yeah, maybe we'll do some tech stuff on this show. Real quick, Google is supposedly announcing a new security camera, a new watch, a lower end, maybe Pixel branded thing. And then there's going to be a high end one too. All that came out. But
Pixel branded what thing? Like what kind of thing?
Well, the lower end phone. Like if they build, because Pixel is kind of pitched as a premium device. Well, I guess it's kind of pitched as a premium broken device because none of them seem to work all that well. But
right.
But if they
keep hoping,
if they do an entry level phone, would they use the same Pixel branding?
Oh, I heard they are, and it's like I'm going to get the model number wrong, but it's like a Snapdragon 625 or 675 or one of those kind of things. Kind of mid-level processor, but it's actually supposed to have more RAM than the Pixel 3. That's one of the big problems with the memory mesh. I know. Well, you only went with three gigs of RAM. 3 gigs of RAM.
Yeah.
So this one will supposedly about 4. I mean, I guess we'll see. But same camera. That makes it immediately interesting, right? I mean, it's an incredible camera.
Yep. I'll be curious. And the other kind of thing that people are wondering too is if the Nest kind of line is going to go away or what's going to happen with that, because it got folded into the Google Home group. And so Nest, which I like all their stuff, but I mean, it's a branding is a branding or whatever. And so the new security camera, wouldn't it be surprising if they called it like a home cam or something like that?
I think that well, Google does what Microsoft does a lot of the times. They tend to push things toward the Google brand. They may have. Well, who knows? Pixel. I don't know. It's still kind of a boutique thing, and like you said, they've had serious reliability problems the past 2 gens. It's possible that brand is kind of poison right now, kind of like Lumia. But I'm sure some people don't see it that way. But I wouldn't expect them to use Pixel on the what do you call it, the smart home type stuff, right?
Oh yeah,
like
I wouldn't see that. But
Nest is a good brand, but yeah, I would, if I were betting money on it, I would bet that they would go Google on the branding.
They just rename them to like Google Cam and whatnot.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, it makes sense. Nest was a standalone company for those people who weren't aware. Then Microsoft, Google bought them, and then they screwed around with them, and then they didn't know what they were doing with them. Then they got a couple changes in management, and then they figured out how to ship products, and now that's what they're doing.
Actually, that reminds me, I was meaning to ask you, we didn't have a show yesterday because of my various adventures.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, it was kind of a big day. I'll tell you about it eventually. But you saw the news, I'm sure, that Amazon bought Eero.
Oh, yes.
Is that the mesh networking company that you're using, or what is? No, it's not.
No, the one that I have is made by Ubiquiti or Ubuntu. Okay. Yeah, Ubiquiti. I was gonna say Ubuntu. That's the OS.
It's made by it's the Ubuntu brand. It's
which it makes sense for Amazon, but that's got to scare the crap out of everybody else who's making routers.
I mean, Google makes a router. That they haven't disrupted the router business by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, but people don't go to Google to buy other branded router. Like, I mean, that's the.
They're going to have bundles, right? We talked last week, I think, about the stereo pairing with the subwoofer on the Amazon smart speakers. Amazon is one-stop shopping. We just this morning, semi-randomly, like we order coffee through Amazon now because it's so much cheaper. And we buy coffee it's ground, so it comes in these big cylinders. We use it with an espresso machine, but it's, when you buy it in the store, you have to kind of carry that around. It's kind of a big weight, whatever. Like just having coffee delivered to your door. I know, whatever. We live in ancient Rome right before the collapse, but, we do, right? I mean, it's a convenience, but it's also cheaper. And this is the thing. I mean, you're right. I mean, this is a threat for sure. Yeah. Because Amazon will promote that thing over the D-Links and the Linksys and whoever else makes these things. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then the other one too is any of these router companies that have platforms built on AWS. It's well, I mean, do you think about migrating? Because if you're paying for AWS, you're now paying to support your competitor who's selling routers that could effectively kill your business.
Yeah. Well, Apple buys displays from Samsung. I mean, I guess you do what you got to do, but sure. So
we will see. I don't know if they have to get approval for that, but whatever, it should be relatively quick and painless for Amazon, I would think.
Do you think just based on what you just said, I mean, it seems semi-logical that Amazon would spin off AWS, right, or that cloud business, whatever it's called. And that kind of further begs the question whether there isn't like just a parent company shell they could do similar to what Alphabet is, where the retail operations are legally and literally separate from this stuff. That might be Amazon. Might be wise to consider that because I as you said that, it occurred to me that there are lots of examples of companies like we just don't want to do business with these guys because we're helping, like you said, you're helping a competitor.
Yeah, it's not exactly and we've talked about this before, the greatest pitch for Microsoft, but it works. They can go to the enterprise customers and just say, we're not Amazon. And for a lot of companies, that is a very, very attractive thing to say.
So, Walmart is split with Google, which... I guess is semi-big news. Google doesn't. It's funny what things Google has made that have failed. Like Google Shopping is one example.
Their Google Cloud isn't doing so well either.
Google.
They got rid of
Android things, which was the news over the past 24 hours, dead as a general purpose IoT platform. Walmart is a big enough entity that they could obviously handle their own, shipping and all that. They do. I mean, they already have that, but. One wonders if that's not an opportunity for Microsoft as well,
I think they did.
Right?
Didn't they announce?
Is that literally what happened?
No, okay. I think Walmart, has said they're moving or using Azure. I'm almost positive. Yeah, it says Microsoft It was in July.
Okay, so this was maybe they were contractually obligated to stick with the Google thing until whatever time period, and then that was the end of that. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
that
makes
is,
sense.
you now Microsoft could go to router companies and be like, look,
We don't make
run on
routers.
Azure
We
because
used
we're
to.
not
They-
Amazon.
Nobody bought them. It's like we don't make smart speakers. We tried. It didn't work. We're safe.
Look,
I know.
we have a very strong track record that we can't build businesses that will destroy yours. Please,
Yes,
please
yes.
use our cloud platform.
It's the exact opposite of what we were in the 90s. Yep.
It's not a great pitch, but it's working out so far for Microsoft.
Hey, it's actually not a horrible pitch.
That's not at all. You got anything else for today? What is today? Wednesday?
Dude, I don't know what the hell's going on today. I'm I'm so out of it. I have to do Windows Weekly. I'm going to be. Have you ever seen anyone fall asleep with their eyes wide open? 'Cause you might want to watch today's show to see what that looks like. I don't know what I'm going to do, but no, not really. I don't know. How about you?
I got some meetings and probably going to play some Apex, which crossed 25
Yeah.
million.
How's that? Right. So
It's fun.
That's been big news.
Yeah.
You know, that's fascinating to me because Fortnite was is still such a force of nature. It came
Yep.
out of nowhere. I hate that company and that guy Tim Sweeney. I cannot stand. It's a ripoff. You know.
Mm-hmm.
They decided to go it alone because he hates app stores. So obviously he makes his own app store, and it just changed the game industry, right?
Yeah.
There's a news story today. Esports is going to surpass $1 billion this year
Wow.
and rocket up from there. I mean, this is big business. It's huge. You know, I keep talking about how Call of Duty had to make a game just like Fortnite. You know, that's the competitive landscape today. So for this other game that I don't believe there was any pre-release buzz about or anything,
Mm-mm.
just suddenly appears one day. It mimics the model, right, where it's free and it's on all platforms or will be, and it's already surpassed Fortnite in some ways, right? In some very meaningful ways. Certainly, it has rocketed to whatever levels of success, users and so forth, at a dramatically faster rate than Fortnite did. I mean, I don't want to say unprecedented. I just can't think of an example of anything
Yeah.
like that. I just can't. That's incredible.
Yep. You haven't tried it out? I recommend it. It's free.
I've only played
that's-
one game. I downloaded it,
Yeah.
played. I just took. It's gorgeous. The play mechanics are fine. Again, it's the scavenger hunt thing in the beginning
Yep.
that I kind of.
You have to like the genre. If you don't like Battle Royale, then it's going to be a tough
I don't-
hill to climb. But
I don't mind it as a game type, but see, what I would like there to be is some form of leveling, and where it's using some kind of a smart system of putting you against players that are of your approximate level. And
Which
then I go into the game.
that
with
is, I
whatever
believe,
weapons.
coming. There is going to be a ranked mode because
Okay.
right
No,
now
but I want to land with stuff. Like, in other words,
Yeah,
what
well,
I want
that's
is to
gonna be an
customize
issue.
loadouts. No, but I think there's a place for that game. you
Sure.
know?
Oh, I think there is too.
And maybe it's a game type. I don't, for that game, I don't know. I'm just saying, game makers, if you're listening, there are a lot of people, we know this, it's a fact, like me, who play Call of Duty or Battlefield or whatever, these traditional shooters. And they have these leveling systems, that happen over time, right? I think with Call of Duty, we didn't see it until the first Modern Warfare game. Basic system of creating loadouts and having a certain number of points or whatever to allocate to different things. You have a gun with attachments and secondary weapons and whatever else. And a battle royale. I'm surprised the Call of Duty version isn't like this, but
yeah.
a battle royale game where that system of progression is part of it would go a long way to making this interesting to me. I think that might do it. I just, I land. I'm always level one. You land, and then you look. Maybe there's something in that house over there. To me, that's just. I don't know.
Well, there you go, folks. Paul just gave you $1 billion idea. We'll be back tomorrow because tomorrow's Thursday, and have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday.
Unless there's snow, of course.